Blog Talk Radio.
Want a faster and better way to enjoy your entertainment at home and on the go? Take the Xfinity X1 Challenge and see how your service stacks up at Xfinity.com/challenge. Or for a great offer, call 1-800-XFINITY or click today. Restrictions apply.
Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 9 years we've been asking the Franchpreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with John Ferricutty, the Chief Operating Officer of Been There, Done That. And Been There, Done That has been in the dumpster rental industry since 2004. And their dumpster rental franchise started in Canada and quickly became the leading dumpster rental franchise in all of Canada in a short period of time. People learned about Been There, Done That not only because of their great, unique name, but because of their great, unique services. I'm going to talk to John about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher. Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561 888-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 9 years we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with John Ferricutty, the Chief Operating Officer of Been There, Done That. And Been There, Done That has been in the dumpster rental industry since 2004. Hi, John. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Marty. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
The pleasure is mine, John. We would like to ask our guests where you're calling from this morning, John.
I'm here in beautiful Toronto, Ontario, and we're in the west end of the city here, and it's a lovely day, and I'm looking forward to the interview.
That's fantastic. You know, I always have friends that go up to Canada this time of year, John. I always understand, like, the weather's like, they always say it's almost like perfect this time of year up in Canada.
It's beautiful. You know, it's if you've never been up and visited with us, I think you'd be surprised at the beautiful summers that we have here. And I would invite anybody to come up and experience Toronto.
That's fantastic. You have a great background too, John. You know, I was impressed. You know, for a number of different reasons. One, I mean, it looked like you have a background in franchising. Of course, I understand that you were a franchisee at one point. Maybe you could talk a little bit about yourself and your franchise career.
Sure, I'd love to. I'm going to go right back to my first job out of college was with Xerox, and I was a sales and marketing representative with Xerox, and I bring that up because I think really that that was where I learned the importance in business of communication and customer service. And if there's one thing that I know, it doesn't matter what business you're in, people do business with people they like, and I really feel like that's where it started for me. From there, I got into small business. I did a whole bunch of different things. I got into property management. I managed some commercial mixed-use properties here in Toronto for about 10 years. While I was doing that, my career in small business and in franchising started kind of at the same time. I opened a couple of bar and restaurants with partners, and I also became the first Canadian franchise operator for another concept. If you don't mind me saying it was called the Handle with Care Packaging Store, and I did that in 1993. Okay. And that was where I was introduced to franchising. And, it was, for me, I always had an entrepreneurial mind, and I wanted to be in business, but I applied my sales and marketing background that I had learned at Xerox and in the property management business, and I found that by taking some pretty straightforward sales and marketing strategies, I was able to have some real good success with my franchise business, and kind of came on the radar of the franchisor at that time, and they started to use me on the support side to go out and speak to other franchise operators about sales and marketing, and that's when I was introduced to the franchisor side of business. And to make a long story short, I ended up selling my franchise so that I could concentrate 100% on training and working with other franchise operators on the support side. I also got into doing some franchise development for that company, which was lots of fun. And that was when I sort of moved from one side of the franchise industry desk as a franchisee to the other side as a franchisor. And I still look back on my experience as a franchisee and small business owner every day when I go to work now that I'm a franchise on the franchisor side, if you would. So, and in 2007, I met Mike Kernigan and Mark Crossett from Been There, Done That, and started to work here for this company in February of 2008, and just having a wonderful, wonderful time.
That's fantastic. I mean, it must be great for you too, John. That you have that empathy for the franchisee. And that can't always be said. On our show. We've done almost 500 interviews up to this point, and I imagine that all of that experience, even going back to Xerox, it certainly helps you, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every day when I come in, I'm constantly thinking of that franchisee perspective because that's my history,
right.
and and I think that for the most part, it really serves me well in the role that I'm in because let's face it, every franchise network is a team, and all the members of the team have to contribute equally, and there's a lot more franchise operators on our team than there are people on the franchisor side. So I mean, the strength of us, really, frankly, in any franchise organization is the franchise operator.
That's great. What do you like most about franchising, John? I mean, the majority of our listeners, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. It seems like most of them have it in their mind that they want to get into franchising. What was it that you liked most about franchising?
It's I just mentioned it's the whole idea of working as part of a team, and you could be the greatest small business owner in the world and have great success locally, but when you have other people who are like-minded, who have similar goals, who are also working in their market to achieve the same things that you are, then your efforts are just increased exponentially, right? And so for me, I believe the ability to follow a proven model by a group of people all trying to aspire to the same thing is just tremendously strong.
Sure. That's great. Been there, done that is one of those, in doing, again, almost 500 shows, John. This was one of the concepts when I was studying. I said, God, why didn't I think of that? I mean, it's just, it's so clever, for so many different reasons. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the story of Been There, Done That, how it got started, and all that other good stuff.
Sure, I'd love to. The idea and the company itself was started by a good friend of mine now. His name is Mark Crossett. He was working as a general contractor doing residential remodeling and renovation jobs. So he was doing kitchens, bathrooms, basements, stuff like that. And one of the big challenges he found in that business was that when he called a dumpster company and had to get rid of the debris, it was just a big hassle. They would oftentimes not show up on time, and then when they did, it was a big old, triaxle truck that was belching diesel exhaust up the street, and very large, rusted-out dumpsters. It was just not a nice experience. It was difficult. So he had this idea, why don't we make this a much easier, nicer, more friendly experience? Right. And he came up with the idea: smaller trucks, smaller dumpsters, make sure everything looks good, make sure the driver's polite and in a uniform, and all that, seems to be simple stuff, but stuff that really isn't done very well in our industry. So he started. Right. And very quickly, his dumpster business that he named Been There, Dump That, started to take up an awful lot more time than his contracting business, so he just started doing that. Wow. Yeah. Great. And then one day,
the name is very clever, by the way. I was going to say, John, you have to give him a lot of credit for the name too. I'm sure you get a lot of positive comments on the name. I just think it's so clever from a marketing perspective. I said, God, that's brilliant.
Well, thank you for saying that, and you're right. I mean, it's amazing how many people you introduce yourself and you give the name, and they just either smile or even sometimes they just will chuckle. They get it. It's funny, and it's memorable too. So, and Mark Crossett was the guy that came up with that name. But that's great. Then what happened was there was a flood at a company, the home office of a company called Weedman Lawn Care, and you'll know that Weedman Lawn Care is a very successful franchise company in North America in the lawn care. So anyways, they had a flood in the basement, and they had to clean out some carpet and drywall and all that kind of stuff, and this dumpster showed up and said, Been There, Dump That on the side, and that's how Mark Crossett was introduced to Mike Kernigan. And Mike, his background is entirely in franchising and specifically with Weedman Lawn Care. And so in getting to know each other, they start talking about business. Mike always had his eyes out looking for, new concepts and ideas, and that's how Been There, Dump That was born as a franchisor. And so just a chance meeting where, and you know what, people do business with people they like, and that's basically how that happened. So, and that was they started franchising in 2004. So. Between 2004 and the sort of middle to end part of 2007, they added some franchises slowly, but they really needed somebody to come on board and take the reins. Mark was still working as a franchisee and continues to this day to work as a franchisee. Wow. And so, they brought me on in the beginning part of 2008, specifically because they needed somebody to take the reins specifically for this brand. And I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, and so I started in 2008. Now at the time, we're part of a family of franchise companies that all fall under the umbrella of a company called That Franchise Group. And they include companies like Weedman Lawn Care, us. We're the Canadian master franchise for some other U.S. franchise companies. So there's actually 6 companies underneath the umbrella. They're all in the sort of home services business, so they're related in that way. And it works really well because we can share common practices and marketing ideas and all that kind of stuff between the companies, and that works really well.
Fantastic. And I was going to say, too, you've done a very good job, too, John. I understand that, Been There, Done That has officially reached, I think you're over 100 units at this point, which is really, it's a milestone in franchising, isn't it? Not a lot of franchise companies actually reach that 100-point mark, do they? They don't, Marty. I'm so proud of this because we, this is a very unofficial statistic, but I've spoken with a number of people at the IFA who have all told me that the statistic is that less than 20% of all franchisors reach 100 units. And so for us to do that, we're very, very proud of it. But I have to tell you, it was a goal. And we took Been There, Dump That, and entered the United States with it in 2011. And we're very proud of us being a small Canadian company to enter the United States without the benefit of a master in the U.S. or really any financing that we had to go get. We financed the whole thing internally here using the proceeds of the Canadian business, and we now have. I'm very happy to tell you we have many more U.S. franchise locations than we do Canadian, and I say that without upsetting the Canadians because we understand that the difference is so much bigger down in the U.S. Of course, that's fantastic. Did Mike know initially, John, that it seems like franchising is such a good fit for Been There, Done That because it seems like the concept can be duplicated anywhere, and it seems very not to oversimplify it, but it seems like it's a very simple process, isn't it?
I say it all the time. It's a very simple business model, but it's certainly not easy, And no small business is easy. And we occupy a little niche in the trash hauling industry in North America. This is a massive industry, $45 billion in sales a year in trash hauling. And so we only need our little piece, and the little piece that we occupy is what we call the residential friendly dumpsters. So we 95% of everything that you'll see that we do is at someone's home, typically in a driveway. But we are able to put bins on the street if we need to. But we work with homeowners and contractors who are working for a homeowner. So anyone who's doing a home project. So things like kitchens, bathroom renovation or remodeling, if you need a new roof, if you're doing some work outside, even if you're just ripping out your back deck or cleaning out your garage, and you need to get rid of waste. And that's what we do.
It's so clever, John. We had, in our neighborhood, we had one of those big, dumpsters. It just seemed like it was there forever, and it just seems like the neighbors start to resent it after a while because it's so big and it's so bulky and it's rusty and it just doesn't look nice, does it? And that's what it was the spark for me when I was reading about Been There, Done That. I mean, it's so clean, it's nice and colorful. You guys have that nice green color, and there's so many great aspects about it, and I guess that's what Mike was that was his niche, wasn't it?
That was absolutely it. And, it was, and you're right. If you put one of our dumpsters in your driveway in your neighborhood, your neighbors are going to look at it, and instead of grumbling, when are they going to get rid of that ugly thing, they're going to chuckle because you're right. It's going to be freshly painted. By the way, part of our business model is that the dumpsters get refurbished on a regular basis so that they're good, great. They look nice. We protect the driveway with a very unique and proprietary method of protecting the driveway, so the dumpster itself never even touches the driveway. We deliver with a small and agile vehicle that's kind of looks like a tow truck, so we can get in and out of tight spaces, and the truck does not look out of place in a residential setting. And then, probably the best part about it is our drivers are uniformed. They are able to communicate. They, they're polite and they have manners and they understand customer service because, if I didn't tell you already, I believe strongly that people do business with people they like.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Absolutely. And it's the communication aspect as being, very professional and things of that nature. I think that's such an important part of the business. And the bins come in different sizes too, don't they, John? I was thinking of, this whole thing from a repeat sale, type of situation where I imagine that, you, with this type of model, you would have a higher repeat sale. I was thinking more of like a spring cleaning type of situation, where, it can almost become like an annual thing for a lot of your residential customers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually really funny you say that because that was a piece of the business that I really didn't expect and that we've found over the years that this was like a nice little added bonus to what we found is that a lot of homeowners are actually using our dumpsters as a regular part of their home maintenance spring cleaning. And, we thought that a homeowner would call us once and then we may not hear from them again for years, but that's not the case at all. And, in fact, what a lot of people do is we found is that they'll split the cost with a couple of neighbors. And so, like, three neighbors will get together and this year I get it in my driveway, and next year you get it in your driveway, and then every spring we, split the cost, and it turns out to be a regular part of our spring cleaning stuff, and that's a neat part of the business, and you get to know people too, and a lot of our business is with people that we work with all the time. So you're absolutely right, and then another lot of our business is done with contractors who are working at people's homes, and the contractors love us because they know exactly what they're getting when they call us. We answer the phone. We deliver on time. Sometimes, more importantly, we pick up on time. Can you imagine a homeowner does a kitchen renovation and it's Friday and the renovation's been done for a few days and they're they want to have their friends and family over for a dinner party, let's say, to show off their brand new kitchen, and they can't get the dumpster company to pick up that ugly old rust bucket out of the driveway. So, they know that they can call us, and typically within an hour or two, we can have that thing picked up. And not only we pick it up, but we'll sweep the driveway for them to make sure that it's nice and clean when we leave.
That's fantastic. It's so important. Maybe we could talk a little bit about, franchising, John. I mean, who does, this particular business model attract? I mean, who is your ideal franchisee?
That's a great question. We look for people with a generic business background, and they seem to be the people that are attracted to us. We've got, we got lawyers in the system, we got engineers in the system, we got, you name it. What we don't have is a lot of people that come out of the waste disposal industry. Which is interesting. Yeah. But people with customer service background like it. we do have a number of engineers in our system and that have had good success, and I believe that's due to the fact that engineers like systems, and ours is a very specific. So we have systems for all the different aspects of the business, whether it be operations, marketing support, all that kind of stuff. We're a systems company. So when we get a new franchise operator into our network, a lot of people who are attracted to that systems idea like what we have to show them because it's very straightforward. It is a little bit unique, especially in our industry. But systems is, I think, what is very important too.
That's fantastic. This Been There, Done That has gotten some, pretty good. I guess you could say public relations too. I mean, there was one show on cable, wasn't there, John? That actually featured Been There, Done That.
There's actually a number of them. So we've worked with a number of the very popular, cable TV shows that deal with home rentals and stuff. So I might be doing a little name dropping here, but first we worked with Mike Holmes and the Homes on Homes show. We did that for almost 10 years, and that was a wonderful relationship. And we've also worked. We work with the Property Brothers. And the Property Brothers has been a fantastic relationship for us, and we continue to work with them. We work with another TV show called Listed Sisters. And anyways, it's been wonderful for us because it allows us to donate our services. And rather than, I don't know if they're going to love us saying this, but it's more about product placement than it is buying advertising. So And we fit so well with our concept and our business model, the way we do things for these television shows, because our bin, our logo, and everything looks good on the television, and they can count on us to give them great service. So and we've done that in markets all over North America.
Yeah, I think those shows help the industry too, don't they, John? I think it helps create awareness, for the industry. I think that it's very clever. I know I've become aware, of your industry just by watching some of these shows. I say, God, why don't we do that? It makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And people love those shows. They're very popular.
They are. They're very interesting, aren't they? They are fantastic. How would you describe a typical day for our listeners, John? They're listening and saying, "Wow, this sounds like a great concept." What is a typical day like as a franchisee for Been There, Done That?
Yeah, so you might think a typical day for a franchisee might be driving around in a truck, but that's really not the case. We look for people that don't want to be driving the truck, to be honest, because we want them to be working on the business, right? Not in the business, the old cliche. But we do want them to start for the first little while inside the truck so that they understand exactly how that operation side works, and they do. We like to see our franchise operator move out of the vehicle and into the operation of the business. Usually at around the 3-month mark, to be honest. So really fairly quickly after starting. So a typical day for a franchise operator would start in the morning with some operational kind of things like dispatching, scheduling pickups and deliveries, and all that sort of thing. But then it would quickly move into allowing the office manager or inside salesperson to take that stuff on, and then getting into what we really see as the important aspect of being a franchise operator in our system, and that's building the relationships out there in the community that turn into business. It's meeting and getting to know the contractors in your area. It's becoming active in the local contractors association. We're very active members of the National Association of the Remodeling Industry. We're very active there. We always coach and work with our franchise operators to get involved in the local Chamber of Commerce and become active. And those are the things that turn into business. And although it may not happen overnight, if you're good at that kind of thing and you're persistent at it and you're consistent with it, it always turns into relationships that turn into business. And so a franchise operator would spend a good chunk of their day doing that. Now, that's not to say that they wouldn't hop in and answer the phone and talk to customers during the day as well, because that happens for sure. And, in fact, you also have to be ready if somebody calls in sick to hop in a truck and make some deliveries that day if you have to. So it's, I find that our franchise operators love the ability to be interacting with people all day long. And they love what I call the simplicity of our business model.
Right.
And again, no small business is easy. You know that, But when you have a good model and you're following the model, it does make it a little bit easier.
What about the office type of situation, John? I mean, do the majority of your franchisees have, do they rent an office, or is it something that they can work from a home office? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, the majority of our franchise operators start out of a home office while they're building their business, and that's really an advantage for us. I mean, it's an inexpensive investment to get going because you can start out of your home. We really recommend that once they get to the 2-truck level in their business, then it's time to be on the lookout into moving into an office, because by the time you get to 3 trucks, then you really have to be in an office. If that makes sense.
Of course, right.
Sure
it does.
You can wear a lot of hats as a small business owner when you're small, but as you grow, if you continue to try to wear all those same hats, it's going to stunt your growth. And you really have to start bringing on office management and people that you can delegate to and move into an office and all that. And that's how we plan it out with our franchise operators. So we like to see them in an office usually by the end of the first year, beginning of the second year. Now, that said, we also have some franchise operators that have made the commitment to renting office space right out of the gate as they're opening, and that works really well too. So you can do it either way.
That's great. What happens to a lot of the, I guess you could say the junk, John? I mean, does any of it get recycled, or does it go to a landfill? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. That's a really good question, and we get it all the time. So anything that can be recycled is typically recycled. So when we go dump, whatever load we have, 99% of the time, it's dumped at a facility that will separate and recycle the recyclables.
Oh, that's great.
And we're pretty. I mean, we know how important that is. I mean, it's 2016. Sure. You can't just fill landfills anymore. So we work with companies. Now we don't do it ourselves. We dump at third party. But we always make sure that there's the ability to recycle when we can. And so, wood gets separated, and drywall gets separated, and metals get separated, and all that stuff. And then typically, when we do leave a load, very little of it actually ends up in a landfill.
That's fantastic. You've been involved in franchising for a long time now, John. And one of the questions we'll like to ask people like yourself when we have, someone like you on the show is, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? Because we find from doing this show such a long time now that, a lot of them are really confused because there seems to be so much out there today. There's opportunities here in the U.S., there's opportunities in Canada, and even other franchise opportunities international. So it gets a little bit overwhelming. So, from everything up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? Yeah, you're right. Especially now with the Internet, you can get overwhelmed. Search franchising on Google. Here's my experience. First of all, I would say look for a franchisor that wants to give you as much information as possible. Because in order to make an educated decision, you have to educate yourself. And so I would say, the best franchisors are the ones that want to give you as much information as possible. They're not trying to hide anything. They're open. You want the open book franchisor. So that's the first thing. I would say try to match your personality with the business. If you're the kind of person that gets up early in the morning and goes to bed at 9 o'clock at night, you don't want to be in the restaurant and bar business. If you want to be in a home service type business, do you want to be dealing with a lot of employees? And if you do, retail would be great for you. But
if that's not something you want to do, then look for a type of business that doesn't require a lot of employees. So, I mean, it sounds simple, but it sometimes people lose sight of that. So find a business that matches your personality, and then, do your due diligence. Don't fluff over any of it. And I find that the most important thing you can do is talk to franchise operators in the system.
Yeah.
You really got to get on the phone, and email's not good enough. Marty, everybody relies on email these days. Get on the telephone and talk to these people, really, because you'll hear it in their voice whether they are enjoying what they're doing or not. Don't you agree?
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. I think that's the best form of communication still. It's old school, isn't it, John? But I still think that's still the most effective.
Absolutely. And then, the last thing is, once you make your decision and you get into the system, I'm gonna quote my good buddy Greg Yon, and Greg is our director of franchise support here, and he and I were franchisees years and years ago together, and I actually stole him over to work for us. But he says it all the time. It's the basic blocking and tackling. Follow the model, especially in the first year. Invest in something you believe in, and then follow the model, and you'll have success. And again, it sounds simple, but it's sometimes people lose track of that.
It works. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've had this milestone, John. I mean, you've hit the 100 franchise unit mark, and so, I mean, what's the vision then for Been There, Done That? I mean, where do you see, the company maybe 3 to 5 years down the road?
Yeah, we see ourselves. Our goal is 200 to 250 units across North America. We've mapped out Canada and the United States, and we know we can do it. But we don't plan on biting off more than we can chew, though. So we have a model that calls for sustained and controlled growth. So we don't want to. Support is so important in franchising, Marty. You got to have the people to help the new franchise operators, and if you grow too fast, sometimes you can outgrow your support team. So we want to make sure we grow at a good rate, that we can work and help support our franchise operators to be successful. And in so doing, our validation and our franchise with our existing franchise operators will continue to be positive. And so that's our goal. 200 to 250 units, but that's probably in the next 10 years, to be honest with you.
That's great. I mean, it's it's nice that it's going to be that kind of growth, as you said. I always wonder, John, how sometimes some of these the big franchises where you got 36,000 franchises, how difficult it must be to support all of those different franchisees. It must be quite difficult, isn't it? Again, you probably know better than I do because you've been in franchising such a long time now. But that's a little bit overwhelming, isn't it, when you're dealing with that many franchisees?
Well, it is. I mean, I've never been involved in a franchisor that's that large, so so it's hard for me to relate to that. But I'll tell you, I relate again from the franchisee side. When I was a franchisee, if I wanted to talk to my franchise support rep, I wanted to be able to pick up the phone and actually speak to somebody.
Of course.
And so that's sort of how we base everything. So it's grow aggressively, but grow under control and do it right. And, we're going to try to continue to do that. And I think if we're successful at doing that, we're going to be successful at growing this business and continuing to do what we've been doing for the last few years.
That's terrific. What's the best way, John, for our listeners to get more information on Been There, Done That? Is the website the best place to go to? I mean, the website is fantastic, by the way. There's a lot of great information.
Well, thank you.
Is that the best place to go to?
I would say, yeah. I mean, go to BeenThereDumpThat.com or BeenThereDumpThatFranchise.com. And you can find out so much information. Now, I will tell you, we're in a little bit of the middle of a redesign on the websites. We're just making it a little prettier, Marty, and you have to do that once in a while just to keep things up to date. But yes, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful opportunity for me to talk about the business.
Yeah, I've enjoyed talking to you, John. I think this is a wonderful concept. I was very excited to talk to you today because, as I said, I said, God, why didn't I think of that? I mean, it's just so clever and brilliant, So, I expect great things for Been There, Done That. I'm going to keep following you, and I'd like to invite you back, in the near future as you continue to grow. I think this is terrific.
I'd love to be able to do that. And thanks again. Have a great day, Marty.
You too, John. It's been my pleasure. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Today's great quote in franchising is being brought to you by
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. We've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes and lessons on our show. And if you go to our About Us page on franchiseinterviews.com, you'll take notice on why we started the podcast and radio show Franchise Interviews, and it suggests that every business has a story. And that's really been our experience in doing all of these podcasts and radio shows. Every show we do, you'll notice that every franchisor, every franchisee has an amazing story related to franchising. Today's Great Quote in Franchising podcast comes from Tony Luffy. And Tony Luffy is the Chief Executive Officer of the Marlowe Investment Group. And the Marlowe Investment Group are franchise owners of some very popular franchise systems such as Little Caesars, Sizzler, Jack in the Box, Arby's, Church's Chicken, and most recently Sears Appliance and Hardware stores. And Tony talks about the difference between opportunity and regret. There's another great quote relating to opportunity. And again, we talk a lot about opportunity on our weekly radio show. It's said that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. But let's hear what Tony says about the difference between opportunity and regret.
That we've been able to do on a large scale.
It's amazing. If you go back to the beginning, Tony, I mean, were your goals? I mean, today, I mean, you're as large as like 200 plus units. But I mean, back then, I mean, when you go back to the beginning, I mean, was that your goal in the beginning, or was this kind of like just like a natural progression over time?
It's both. Really, when I in the early 90s, when I finally became a partner, a 10% partner of a small company, I wanted to get to 50 units before I turned 50. So I don't know if that goal was really feasible in my head, but that was the dream. But the goal, the most important part of it was I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to be independent, and I wanted to allow my ability to manage people and work with people to develop into something that was bigger. I didn't know the size, nor did I plan for it to be a number of revenue, whether it's 10 million or 5 million, whatever it was. It was really finding a way to make a living and support my family, at the same time satisfying my personal need, which is to be an entrepreneur. And really, once that took place, it was more about the opportunities that came our way. And I always say the difference between opportunity and regret is being ready. So if you're ready, you see the opportunity as an opportunity. Otherwise, you spend a lifetime regretting the fact that you missed the opportunity. So to me, it's about being ready. And I've always worked so hard to make sure that we are ready for whenever that opportunity came our way.
That's fantastic. We have this great quotes in franchising podcast. We're gonna put that quote in there, Tony, if you don't mind. I think that's very powerful. Maybe we could talk a little bit about your company. I mean, the Marlowe Investment Group. I mean,
if you'd like to hear that whole interview with Tony Luffy, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com, and you can go to our franchises listed alphabetically page and simply go to the Marlowe Investment Group, and you can hear that whole interview. We have that interview also in our About Us page, and you can go to franchise interviews by category as well, and go under the food category, because that's where most of Tony's franchises are located within his portfolio. And lastly, we'd just like to thank everyone for making this podcast such a tremendous success. It's amazing how many people have listened to the podcast over the years, so it's really been wonderful, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.